Today, we're going to peek inside the government's wallet. We're going to figure out how it funds these massive projects, day-to-day operations, really everything. And it all comes down to one fundamental tool: bonds. Okay, let's get into it. I mean, have you ever really stopped to think about it? We're talking roads, schools, national defense, scientific research. All of it costs a mind-boggling amount of money. So where does the government get all that cash, especially when taxes just aren't enough? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. Just like you or I might get a loan for a car or a company borrows to expand, when a government needs more money than it has, it borrows. And its number one way of doing that is by issuing something called a bond.
Seriously, that's the whole idea. A bond is just a fancy IOU. You, the investor, hand the government your money, and in return, they give you a promise, a digital one these days, that says they'll pay back your original loan on a set date. And as a thank you for the loan, they'll give you little extra payments along the way. We call that interest. All right, let's kick things off with the most famous and fundamental type of government IOU. These are the ones issued directly by the U.S. Treasury, and they are considered some of the absolute safest investments on the entire planet.
So what's the difference between a treasury note and a treasury bond? Honestly, it just comes down to time. Treasury notes, or T-notes, are kind of like a medium-term loan. Think a few years, up to 10. But treasury bonds, or T-bonds, are the real long-haul commitment. These are more like a mortgage, lasting up to 20 or even 30 years.
Whoa. Okay, so when you first look at a real-world list of treasury bonds like this one, it can feel like you're trying to read a secret code, right? So many columns, so many numbers. But don't worry, most of this is for the professional traders. For us, we just need to understand two key parts to get the whole picture. So let's just cut through the noise and focus on the two things that really matter. First up is the coupon. That's just a fancy word for the interest rate you get paid every single year. Simple. Second is maturity. That's the big day, the date when the loan is all done and the government pays your original money back in full. Coupon and maturity, that's the core promise. You know, the easiest way to think about this is like loaning lunch money to the most reliable, trustworthy person you can possibly imagine. There is practically zero doubt in your mind that you're going to get paid back. That incredible safety, that's their main selling point. But there's a catch. That classic IOU has one potential weakness, and its name is inflation. What happens if the money you get back is worth less than it was when you first lent it out? Well, the government actually came up with a special type of bond to solve exactly that problem. Let's go right back to our lunch money example. So you lend your friend some cash, and they promise to pay you back plus enough for a soda. But over the next year, the price of that soda goes up. Suddenly, that little extra they give you back isn't enough anymore. That is inflation in a nutshell. And that is where TIPS come in. They are a pretty brilliant solution, actually. With a TIPS bond, the original amount of your loan, what we call the principal, isn't fixed. It actually gets bigger as inflation goes up. And this isn't just a random guess. It's tied to the official Consumer Price Index, or CPI, which is how the government tracks the changing price of everyday stuff. So here's how this little magic trick works. Let's say you lend the government $1,000. Then, over the year, inflation goes up by, say, 3%. The government basically says, okay, you know what? We don't owe you $1,000 anymore. We owe you $1,030. And here's the kicker. Your regular interest payments are now calculated on that new, higher amount. Your investment is literally growing to keep up. So what this all means is that your loan is now totally inflation-proof. If the price of those snacks goes up, the value of the money you're owed goes up right along with it. It ensures that your money keeps its buying power over time. It's a fantastic idea. Okay, so we've got the super safe, classic bond, and the inflation-proof upgrade. But there's a third major player in this game, and these are a little different. They don't come from the Treasury itself, but from specific government agencies, ones that are designed to be a kind of helping hand for the economy. Now, you've probably heard of some of these guys, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. They're not technically part of the government, but they were created by it to do very specific jobs. They're government-sponsored, which means they can issue their own bonds to raise money for whatever their mission is. So, why do they exist? What's their job? Well, their main goal is to be like a funnel for money, making sure it flows smoothly into crucial parts of the economy.
And the most important one by far is the housing market. By buying up mortgages from banks, they make it easier and cheaper for those banks to keep lending money to people who want to buy homes. Now, here's where the story gets really interesting. For the longest time, investors just kind of assumed that, hey, these agencies are connected to the government, so if they ever got into real trouble, the government would step in and save them. But then, 2008 happened. During that massive financial crisis, that assumption was put to the ultimate test, and the government did step in, turning that unspoken assumption into an explicit official guarantee. This was a huge, huge deal. Think of it this way. It's like loaning money to a special club at your school, maybe one that builds houses for charity. You feel pretty safe doing it, right? Not just because the club does good work, but because you know the principal, the ultimate authority, is standing right there behind them, fully backing the whole project. That's agency debt. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. The classic IOU, the inflation-proof upgrade, and the specialist helping hand. So let's take a step back and put all these pieces of the puzzle together. This table really lays it all out, doesn't it? You've got your standard treasury bonds for ultimate safety. That's the loan to your safest friend. You've got tips to protect your money's value, the inflation-proof loan, and you've got agency debt to support really important goals like housing, the loan to the principal's favorite club. 3 different tools for 3 different jobs. So you see, the government's wallet isn't just one big bag of cash. It's more like a tool belt, with different pockets, each holding a tool designed for a specific purpose. Understanding these tools, the safe one, the inflation-proof one, and the specialist, is the first real step to understanding how the entire economy works. Thanks for tuning in.